Greetings YouTube! This is going to be a quick review, mainly because this game actually isn't that long. First thing I've got to ask though, is this game trying to compete with World of Darkness and Warhammer for longest video game title? I think it is. The story itself is very straightforward. The armies of good have been trying to take out the Demon King's castle for longer than anyone cares to remember. This time though, they decided to all do it at the same time. Result, the castle is taken, the demon army smashed. Except, one demon slipped the net. And despite the title, you don't actually do much castle defending. Like most roguelikes, Skul is all about replaying the same content over and over again, which does appeal to some people, perfecting your run until you're reacting to even random interventions on instinct, adding to your understanding of the system, and honing your build to a razor's edge, until you never ever take a lick of damage. Other people will see this kind of thing as extremely tedious, doomed to repeat ad nauseum the same content over and over, as if it's a digital playable version of Groundhog Day. Which person you are will alter whether you like this game or not. Chances are you've run into roguelikes before and have already figured out long ago if this is one for you. You play the role of Skul, with one L. Skul's main claim to fame is his ability to swap heads. You can carry two skulls at once and each has a different focus. There are power, balance and speed skulls to choose from. Each skull comes with one or two support powers depending on its rarity. The support powers are randomly drawn from a pool of options unique to that skull, so you never know exactly what you're going to get, even if you pick up the same skull as last time. Then you can have a single quintessence, which is basically your ultimate ability, and it's entirely separate from everything else, allowing you to mix and match your favourites. You can collect up to 9 power-up items, and each of these items grants you an upgrade. There's a huge range, so you're never stuck for options. They do appear at random, but you usually get a choice of 3 from a chest, 4 if you're in the shop. More importantly than that though, each item has 2 bonus keywords. When you hold a minimum number of items with the same keyword, you receive a powerful bonus or enhancement on top of what you already had. Now the trick is, not only knowing what the keywords are and what they do, but which ones you can actually hold at the same time, given you can only hold 9 of these items at once. And further complicating your build is physical and magical attack damage is treated separately. So not all Skul's items and ultimate combinations are easy to coordinate and power up all together at the same time. Not only can you lean into a Skul's individual strength though, you can also switch Skulls in mid-fight since you can have 2 of them. And that gives you access to both of their special abilities, which cool down separately by the way, as well as potentially trigger a swap bonus, if you have one. And if all this sounds a tad complicated, it's not as complicated as I'm making it sound. It's just complicated trying to describe it. You pick up currency in the levels, gold is used at the shop to buy extra health and items. Bones are used to upgrade your skulls. How many times a skull can be upgraded depends on its starting rarity. The rarer it is, the fewer upgrades are possible, and the more bones it needs to take it up a notch. The third unit of currency is dark quartz, and this is the only unit of currency, in fact it's the only thing of any kind that you keep between runs, and is used to upgrade Skul's basic stats, making the next run more likely to succeed. In theory, more likely to succeed. You can rescue people in the levels, some give bonuses or services. Others will move into the castle throne room permanently and provide a starting bonus for your next run. There are also bonus areas that can randomly pop up in your path. They can be easily avoided, which you might want to seriously consider doing because while they can hold great treasures, they also hold extreme dangers and can end your run very abruptly. Some of these builds can surprise you, or they did me at least. I started, for example, with a weak-ass shield bearer that I really struggled to work with at first. But after I invested in its physical attack, its charge attack power, and upgrading the Skul a couple of times as well, it became an overpowered high-speed monster that was steamrolling entire waves of enemies without breaking a sweat. Similarly, there was a low-level water Skul that was transformed into a screen-clearing beast by several magical upgrades. Some of these, though, I continue to struggle with. The circus performers use weak throwing knives that stack damage, which is good against single targets, but I quickly got overwhelmed by crowds. And spellcasters seem to particularly struggle, at least for me, mostly because enemies crowd you all the time and spells take time and mana to cost, both of which leave you wide open to counterattacks. Basically, in my experience, anything that allows you to hit hard, attack rapidly, and from a distance tends to win more fights. There are end-of-level bosses that are suitably large in spectacle. But there are also mid-level boss encounters with a random set of opponents. Level 1 features a fight with one mini-boss. Level 2 with 2 mini-bosses. Level 3 with 3 mini-bosses. Yeah, spot the pattern. And depending on the mix of opponents you get, these fights can be some of the game's easiest or the hardest. There's a sword fighter, a speedy ninja who throws stuff, a mage who lights up the screen with flame. The healer is the easiest on her own, but she makes fighting a large group a bloody nightmare. The group of 3 mini-bosses stopped me in my tracks a number of times. Also, the castle level has some of the most serious cleaning staff I've ever met. Okay, there's not a lot to this game, honestly. The biggest element to learn is all the skull and item combinations and which one will result in the best and most powerful builds. Trying to work all that out is quite complicated. True, you are at the mercy of RNGesus for your loadout, but there are usually enough options for you to create something, even if it's not what you were initially aiming for. This is a good example of a roguelike game. Although I will say Dead Cells is superior by quite a margin, both in terms of scale and the animations, but this is by no means a slouch. Might be worth checking out if you like this kind of thing.